everybody. Welcome to the History Made Awesome podcast number 2, episode number 2. It is currently 9/1/2017, and we are back at it again because you guys love this series so much. So again, we're here with Ben. Ben, you want to say hi to everyone again?
Hello, everyone, again.
So I think we'll just jump right into it. Hey, Ben, how are you doing since the
I'm
last
doing
podcast?
well.
Weather's treating you well?
Yes, 2 days ago was pouring rain, which is weird for me. I'm not used to summer rain at all.
That's the weird thing about the East Coast is that you're gonna get like rain at the weirdest times.
I think
Well,
it's like literally anywhere other than California.
I know, right? Like we're
Because you get that
yeah.
in Washington and Oregon too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I was in what was it? I was in the East Coast like in early June. Yeah,
hmm
June, and like the fifth day we were there, it rained. Like it was torrential rain. It was
Yep.
pretty bad. While in California, you even hear what's going on here, right?
No.
Oh, we've been baking up in here.
Okay,
Literally
I've noticed. My
baking.
my weather app is defaulted to California, and it keeps telling me like, "Yep, it's 108 today."
Yep, yep. It was funny because my sister was she's swimming my brother who's currently in LA for school,
Uh-huh.
and she's like, oh my, because we're going to LA this weekend for like 2 days or whatever, and like she was like, what was it? She's like, oh my goodness, I thought I was gonna be like to leave Davis and like go to SoCal, enjoy the nice weather. Like, nope, it's like 100 degrees, and she's like talking to my brother like, I bet you it's hot down there. He's like, yep. He's like dying in his room right now. So little shout out to his siblings. Yeah. So we're definitely cooking. Global warming, probably.
Problem.
If that doesn't indicate global warming, I don't know what does.
I don't know. I don't think localized weather is a good indication of climate change.
Yeah. That Houston flood though.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's gotten worse since last we talked.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here, I just want to like reemphasize this. Again, I do actually care about the people that are going on in Houston. I just don't like the amount of media coverage that's going into it. That's the one thing I just like. I just did not like. I think because
Yeah, I didn't think you explained it very well last time. I was pretty confused.
yeah. So like we found a very good BBC article that kind of talked about it. Um, So one things that kind of like came to me when I read this article, I'll probably put it like in the description on the YouTube video. Uh, so pretty much like there's floods that happen all the time, right? There's like examples like in India, like they get the torrential rain. What's it called in India? It's called the monsoon season. There we go.
Oh.
Like they get terrible monsoons like every single year, and like thousands of people die. And like I currently like in China or like in India, I know there's some things going in China and like Africa as well. Like there's just having terrible weather like all the time, but yet the Western media or like the global media doesn't want to cover it. Like that's my problem with it. To be fair, is that
You feel like foreign countries don't get as much coverage, even when it's worse.
yeah, I think so too. That's my point.
Yeah, I could understand that. I mean, I feel like, when disasters happen, like you said, disasters are happening all the time. You can't really cover all of them all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, I do agree that it's getting basically zero coverage. The ones that are happening in South Asia right now.
And it's more like, what can you really talk about that's like unique? I think the one thing you should talk about is like, I bet you the amount of people who are being affected most within the Houston floods are people who are like below the poverty line.
Yeah, and actually, I have seen articles about that where it says the people who are going to be the most affected, not just short term but long term, are going to be the poorest people.
Hmm.
Which is, I think it's kind of obvious.
Yeah.
But I think one of the reasons the Houston one has gotten as much coverage as it has, because I think it's gotten even more coverage than even like Katrina at the time,
Hmm.
is because it's a worse flood than we've ever seen in recorded history in that part of the country.
And I think the one thing that the news could do is probably what I don't know. I feel like she keeps showing the destruction with destruction. It's like, yeah, we know destruction, but like, is there anything that we can get out of it? Like, I think it's the cool thing they are doing is talking about the people who are rescuing people, which is awesome.
Hmm.
I think one thing to talk about maybe it's like I told the poverty thing, maybe the social economics of it, like how it's they don't really talk about how like poor people are being affected by it, or they're maybe not talking about like the reason why there's a lot of like poverty in Houston or whatever things of that nature and why they're being most affected. Global, well, I don't want to say global warming, but maybe that's something you can talk about. I just think there's more things you can talk about than just saying, oh my god, it's raining a lot. You know what I'm saying?
When it comes to honestly, I don't really watch like news on the TV. I mainly read articles, and I have seen each of the things you've just mentioned. I've seen an article for each of those.
I think my problem is with the nightly news. Like I really,
Yeah, that's what it sounds
I
like, and
hate
I don't really have enough experience with that.
because like I don't watch the nightly news, but my mother she loves the nightly
Mhm.
news, and I just like I cannot watch it with her. Like she has to kick me out of the room every time because of like it's too little, not enough. They keep talking about the wrong things. Like seriously, they were gonna have like an hour special after like at like 10 or whatever. It's like what? What are you gonna talk about on the flood that's not the flood the well I mean the hurricane that has already been talked about? I was just like, oh my goodness. So I do not. So if this anger, not anger, but like this issue with me stems from the nightly news. That's
Okay.
yeah.
It's
BBC is okay.
like when CNN kept covering the missing airplane for hours a day. See,
Yes.
okay, that's something I think would be better for your complaints, where it's like, okay, literally, we haven't found out anything new at all.
Or
How are
like
you talking about it for an hour?
or like the North Korea thing is another thing. Like like they like every time like the North Korea like something on North Korea comes up, I just read it and just like something happened, and then I go to the end like oh nothing's happening. Like North
Yeah, that's sort of North Korea's, their thing.
and like they're giving them so much like room to just make those provocative things, but they're not gonna do anything. That's why I don't really care anymore. Like just because they got a nuke doesn't like really. I mean, it changes the game now because now they're dangerous, right?
Well, they already had their weapons. The thing that they're trying to do is miniaturize the nuclear warhead small enough
I think they already did
that
though.
it'll fit. No, they haven't
Oh,
yet.
okay.
That's the biggest thing that they haven't done so far. Is it's like, okay, they have nuclear weapons, they
Hmm.
have missiles that can reach us, but they can't combine them yet.
And here's the thing
they
though, like even if they do get nuclear weapons, North Korea's not gonna use them. I mean, if they are, that's like the end of like their regime as they know it.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the thing. If North Korea starts war in any way at all, it's they would be able to be crushed. I mean, they just would be.
So that's why I really don't think. Yeah,
But
go.
if they have the more weapons they have, the more like, okay, we're going out with a bang.
Yeah,
The bigger the bang can be that
that
they go out
that is
on.
the thing I'm like I would be worried about is that idea. Like if they're not rational about the way they use their power, then that can be a problem for like the world. But if they are,
Hmm.
but I think they are somewhat rational because they're a type of like family or I guess you could say a family that wants to hold on to power.
Hmm.
I don't see why you would want to, do that type of thing, especially when you're in control of a state and you have China backing you up and Russia helping you out a little bit as well.
Yeah, it's curious. I don't actually know how old Kim is now. He's in his late 20s or early. I don't know how old he is now.
He's young. He's young compared to like the former rulers, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm curious, is he ever gonna have children? Because if not, then I could see him being like, well, in a few decades, being like, well, I'm old. I feel like just kind of destroying everything. Why not?
I'm gonna look it up right now. I think he had a wife. Hold on, let me look it up. He's fudge.
33.
Oh, he's 33. So yeah, he's relatively young. He has a child. Kim
He
Jong.
does?
Yeah, Kim Jong. A.
Okay.
He's okay. There's a daughter. Oh, she's relatively young.
That's the.
She was born in 2012.
Oh.
So she's relatively young.
Oh.
Yeah. So when it comes to like, I mean, because I was looking up on the was it 2 days ago I think from the time this was recorded.
Mm-hmm.
They had the missile fire across Japan, which was pretty
Over
interesting.
over Japan, yeah.
Yeah, over Japan. I was like, ooh, that might change things. And turns out that's happened 2 times already, and like nothing happened. But here,
Yeah.
but with
Since North Korea obviously isn't landlocked, but they're kind of locked out from the main part of the ocean.
hmm
So, for us, it's like, okay, we're gonna go test a missile, and we spend months setting up the missile, and then we launch it into the middle of the ocean, and that's fine because there's nothing over there. Pacific's very large, but for the North Koreans to reach the Pacific, they have to either go over South Korea, Japan, Russia, or they could do a weird loopy thing and go over China.
So do you think it's because like their geography is the reason why they could take those tests in those ways, or do you think they use the trajectory and like the way they use the missile as like a means of like political like a political stance, you can say?
Um, Honestly, the test that they did, the one that shot over Japan, is sort of a necessary step that they need to be able to do to really test the missile.
Mhm.
Because what they've been doing so far, it's like, okay, we're gonna shoot it almost straight up.
Mhm.
That way, it lands next to our country.
Mhm.
And they're like, okay, based on what we see, it can go this far. But
Mhm.
if they don't actually send it thousands of miles away, it's hard to really say if their technology will, survive the flight. So the shooting over, like I said, they need a target that they can shoot at.
Mhm.
And the Pacific Ocean is the best option for, people on boarding the Pacific Ocean. But
Mhm.
because of their geography, they don't really have that as an option
Mhm.
to shoot from their country into the ocean without going over someone.
Yeah.
But I think it's also slightly political. I mean, they like to taunt. They like to taunt until countries give them money to shut up.
They're like
And that's been
trolls.
happening less and less.
They're like the super trolls of like political game or like the geopolitical worlds essentially. That's my opinion on them. It's just like
Hmm.
it's like you're not gonna. I mean, you are gonna do something, but like, do you want to be stupid and die like and like get your country destroyed? I don't know. That's the thing that you don't know, but I think they are somewhat rational. I mean, why would you want to control millions of people and then like have your country be destroyed like in a month or in a super short time?
Yeah, and that's the thing. All of the country's wealth basically, just goes to the Kim family. So
Mhm.
they don't have any. Even if the country is suffering, they personally don't have any reason to
Mhm.
change anything because there's not going to be a rebellion there. It's too their propaganda is too strong.
Exactly. Like, have
So
you seen those
yeah.
documentaries though? Like on their propaganda, like all like what's going on in that country?
I've read a few articles about it. I haven't seen any documentaries though.
I watched like a lot of Vice News. It's just like so cringe. It's like, oh my god, it must suck. It must suck. I don't.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Speaking of like almost world-ending events, there's an asteroid passing
Oh
very
yeah.
very soon.
Isn't it supposed to happen today or earlier today? Later today? It
I
said
think
Friday.
I think so. Let me check really quick. But yeah, like I like how it's just like it's crazy that like hold on, I'll tell you right now. Um, it's happening today.
It looks like it already happened earlier today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it already happened. Yeah, it's just we're gonna say it happened already. So
It did.
but yeah. So but yeah, like it's crazy that like there's like we think like the North Korea thing, the Houston flood, those are things that are like are pretty shitty that can happen to us and all that
Hmm.
stuff. But like it's crazy to know that like our world can be ended like in an instant based on like the things that are like in our universe or like in the galaxy and all that stuff.
Yeah, there's so many different things that could literally just destroy the world instantly. And with an asteroid, they're moving really slow. On
Hmm.
the scale of the universe, they're moving really slow.
Yeah.
So we can see them coming. We're like, okay, and I mean, NASA is just like so on top of it. It's incredible. They're like, okay, here's the asteroids that are going to pass us for the next 50 years, for the next 100 years, for the next 1,000 years,
Hmm.
and they keep adding more. They're like, oh, we found another asteroid, and we looked at it for a while, and now we know its entire trajectory.
Hasn't there been? I don't know if there's been like asteroids or whatever, but I don't know if there's been asteroids that like they've missed and have come pretty close. Have you heard of that?
No, I mean, I've seen a couple where it's like, oh, hey, there's one that's coming. Something happened to its flight pattern, and it's gonna pass us like next year, and then it does. They're like, yep, that was pretty intense. We didn't see that coming anywhere near as early as we wanted to.
Oh my! I just can't. It's crazy to think about. Like we have like these small little problems, like with, like oh my goodness, I gotta go to school, like or whatever. Like I have this test and all these different little things, and like there's a lot bigger things out there that can just end you. Just
Yeah.
like legit. It wasn't like the size of mountains, I believe. It was like the size of a mountain, I think.
Oh, the Florence one. It was like 3 miles wide. So that's,
And
I mean,
it's not like it's not like the I mean it's when the speed it's the speed that when it comes into the Earth's atmosphere, right? Is what kind of speeds it up.
it's the speed, the mass, and the composition.
Hmm.
Because it, in theory, not in reality, but in theory, it could be the same. It could be that size, and if it were made out of the wrong material, it could completely disintegrate in the atmosphere as it's crashing down.
Hmm.
That's not likely to happen. One that's that size is probably pretty dense.
Hmm.
But yeah, when they come crashing through the atmosphere, they lose a lot of their mass. That's
Hmm.
why they have to be. That's why, like in the article, it's like, yeah, they have to be about a mile wide to cause giant problems.
And this
Otherwise, they
yeah,
get so small.
and this one could have. I mean, if it hit Earth, we were not going to be here standing, right?
It depends which side of the Earth it hit and what time. We may still be alive.
Okay.
I mean, because if it hit the other side of the world and it didn't immediately kill us on impact, it would probably kick up. Well, it would probably kick up enough dust to block out the sun.
Yeah.
So, given enough time, we would probably die of starvation.
Isn't how the dinosaurs went? I mean,
That's part of that was a big part of
yeah,
it. Yeah.
because of course it hit one part of the Earth and that sucked for like that part of the Earth, but like most of the time,
It actually crashed. It crashed into the ocean, so it wasn't that big a deal.
yeah, but it was the after effects of the impact, right? That
Yes.
caused the
Yeah.
death.
Yeah. There's a lot of after effects. It causes acid rain. It causes, well, I mean, like I said, it can cause an ice age
Mm-hmm.
in a very short period of time. It can cause a lot of weird things.
Kind of reminds me of like a nuclear winter.
I don't know how nuclear winter works, honestly. I hear that phrase. I've heard that phrase like
Mhm.
throughout my life, and I've never really looked into what it is
Mhm.
exactly. Is that what it is? It's like the nuclear arms kick up dust.
Yeah. So one of the things that happens is that I'm not a nuclear scientist, so don't quote me on this. But
Not anytime.
I have a general idea. So one of the things that would happen is basically, of course, you have the radiation, like that would suck for a little bit, but it usually just what's it called? It like goes away pretty much.
Mhm.
But what happens is that like if there's enough nukes that happen, like it will
Mm.
go into like the clouds,
Yeah.
like all the nuclear, like all of stuff like
Okay,
that.
yeah. So yeah, it works the same way as the meteor. Then
Yeah.
it kicks up a bunch of dust,
Hmm.
and the dust orbits the Earth for quite a while, and it blocks out the sun.
Hmm. And then it brings down like acid rain, and
Yeah.
like yeah. So then it just kills a bunch of animals. I played Fallout, so I'm pretty good at. I know all this stuff already. But yeah, it's crazy. Um, so yeah, speaking of so did you hear about what was it called? I'm trying to think of it right now. Um, Lord of the Flies.
Yeah, you sent me that thing about it.
What
What
do
do
you think?
you?
What's your
I want to know what you think about it first.
hmm? How can I say this? I don't really know with it. I don't know why does it be all girls or all boys? I can see why the director's trying to do that. He's trying to show that women have the same capacity as males because if my memory serves me correctly, I read the book when I was like a freshman or
Yeah,
sophomore
that
in high
sounds
school.
right. Freshman's pretty common. Yeah.
Yeah, so what I got from the book was that it's kind of like that where humans are inherently like violent, and
Yeah.
if we're left to like our even in our innocence, like humans are inherently violent,
Hmm.
which I think we think we all have the capacity for violence, but I don't think we're all inherently violent.
Hmm.
I have my own views on that. We can probably share a little bit later.
Mm.
Um, I don't know. I think just do a mix because I think that would be interesting to see how that would be turn out.
Okay.
Um, but I don't see why it has to be all girls or all boys.
Well, the reason it was initially all boys is because it was from a private school, and the reason that he chose a private school is because it's like, oh, those are the upper class people, and they're so civilized,
Mhm.
and like just to make it extra contrasting. Because if it's like, oh, it's just the random students from a random school, it just I think that's the reason the author chose the private school. It's like, yes, these are the good Catholic boys who are all very nice and
I
kind, and
got
oh
you.
my God, how did they turn so evil?
I got you. I got you. I got you. Yeah.
Hmm.
I find that was kind of interesting. I was just like, at this like trying to tell a different story in a different way. And
Yeah.
I can kind of see why the directors are doing it, trying to show that women also are like men in the sense that they're all human, which is
Mm.
interesting. So I found that kind of interesting.
Yeah, so I do theater and stuff, and I've had a lot of different directors talk about what they think about changing the gender of a character,
Mhm.
like just one character even. And generally, the idea is like, yeah, if it's a character that doesn't matter at all, like if it's just like, oh, it's the servant, then it doesn't, then it can be a boy or a girl as long as it makes sense
Mhm.
historically.
Mhm.
Um, because sometimes changing the gender of a character, suddenly things that they do, the motives of it have very different connotations.
And plus, because women and men, there are. I mean, within the storytelling, there are kind of differences.
Hmm.
Um, the hiccups. Um, but like in the larger scheme of things, I don't. I think what I do you think it's kind of common in like storytelling that like there are small differences. Like there are differences, but maybe the differences that we used to see in like the male and females are not as different as we thought they were. I think that's
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, in the past, I mean, gender roles were just much more pronounced than they are now.
Mhm.
And I don't know. I thought about because you sent me the article and I read it and I thought about it for a while. And I think for in this circumstance with this story, I don't think it matters what the gender is,
Mhm.
especially because it's like because they're doing it in modern times. I in this one circumstance, I really don't care.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
seems fine.
Mhm.
I think the problem usually arises when you change like a single character, like when it's one main character and you just change that one character.
Mhm.
Since it's just like, oh, they're children and they're not, I mean, it's like obviously there's characters and they have personalities, but
Mhm.
it's sort of the book focuses more on the group and
Yeah.
the group dynamics.
Yeah, definitely.
So each individual character really doesn't matter that much in
Mhm.
the long run.
Mhm.
And yeah, so I'm fine with it after I thought about it for a while. I think it's fine.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't know. I found that really interesting. I don't know. We should see how the story comes out. Hopefully they bring that nature out. They don't really try to do anything else with it that maybe makes it a little bit more
Yeah, well, I mean,
not
this.
controversial or whatever.
Yeah, well, they said they're making it contemporary, so I'm curious to see. Yeah, I'm just curious to see how it goes. It could be good,
Mhm.
could be bad. I think the changing the genders doesn't really have any impact on how the rest of it will go.
Mhm. I think the one thing that reason why I think I made it the news is just like it's because it is like a very well-known story, and
Well, yeah.
I feel like they're taking a very big step. Would you say a big step in going that direction?
Honestly, I like I said, I think it's a pretty indifferent step. They have a reason for doing it, and that's fine. I think people just like to overreact to things like that.
Mhm.
Because like I said, sometimes it does matter, and then or like sometimes it's a big deal, and then those stories get out and people make a big deal about it, and then other people join on one bandwagon or the other, and it's like they don't really understand why people care
Mhm.
or don't care about it. Like you remember when Thor, it's like, oh, we're gonna have a girl Thor now,
Mhm.
and that was a big deal at the time.
Yeah.
I That was one that I thought was really stupid because it was like because Thor is, it's not just his
Thor.
superhero name, it's him.
Yeah, I got
He
you.
is Thor.
Yeah.
He was born in Asgard. He has his father and his brother.
Yeah.
It would be like if someone picked up Spider-Man's web shooter and is like, "I am Peter Parker now."
Mhm.
And that's just weird. It's like, "No, no, no, you're not." It's like, yeah,
Well,
that
that
was really weird to me.
aren't they having a? They had. I think they've already made a Black Spider-Man though.
Yeah, and I think that's fine. I don't care about that
Oh,
because
so you're
it's
saying the Peter Parker should stay Peter Parker, not like.
yeah,
I got you.
what I'm saying is the person picked up the Spider-Man thing and then said I am Peter Parker now instead of I am Spider-Man.
Yeah, I got you. That makes
Because
sense.
in the Thor one, it was like the person Thor was still alive,
Mhm.
and then the woman picked up his hammer, and the person Thor was still alive, and she's like, "I'm Thor now."
Yeah.
It's like, well, what about him? He was born and named Thor.
Mhm.
But yeah, things like like the Flash, where there's like Wally West is the Black Flash, and Barry Allen is the original Flash, and he's white because he was made in the 19 whatevers.
Yeah.
It's like that I'm fine with. It's fine for the superhero to change, but
Yeah.
it's the problem with the Thor one is that Thor is a person. It's
He's
not
already
just a
set
superhero.
like in kind of like he's kind of been set already by like many other cultures of like what Thor is and all that stuff.
Yeah, it is. So sometimes the change is fine. Sometimes it's weird.
Mhm. Yeah.
With along the case of that race thing, though, wasn't there? That's what
Uh,
it was. It was that person who was
yeah.
claiming that she had to change her last name because all of Hollywood is racist.
I don't. I find that bullshit. To be
I do
fair,
too.
that's
I think
totally
she's full of
bullshit.
it. Yeah.
Now here's the thing though. I don't know how they do casting calls in like Hollywood unless they look at your name and they don't see like your face or like they don't actually look at you like do what was it called an audition or whatever.
Um.
And then they're like, okay, we don't want to talk to you. Like I can understand it, but if my opinion, the way I think Hollywood works, I'm not sure, I'm not an actor, or whatever. But I would think they would give you like an audition. They can come. I think anyone can audition, right? Because that's what auditions are for.
Yeah. I mean, your casting agent has to set up one. They don't let thousands of people in for each
Of
role.
course, of course, of course. But at least they would have you come for an audition. They at least get to see your face and who you are, and like they would see if you're a good actor or not. And then, yeah, so that's my opinion on that part. Like I find that really stupid.
Yeah, I mean, if she was trying to claim like, oh, they didn't want to hire me for all of the role, like for as many roles because I'm Asian
So we
and so
should,
many roles are white, it's
yeah.
like, okay, yeah, I mean, that kind of, since most of the people who are writers tend to create mostly white characters, I don't know.
So we
But I
should
mean, she was like, people were disgusted by my last name, and my last name was the reason, and that made me just no.
So the person we're talking about, just for everyone to know, her name's Chloe Bennett. Bennett. She's currently on Agents of Shield. She plays the main character. Um, I forget her name. I forget the character's name. But yeah. So basically, her point was that her name was it
Wing.
Wing? Yeah, it was it? Oh, Wang. Yeah, Wang. Well, her name was Chloe Wang, and supposedly she changed her name to Bennett because she felt that her last name was not allowing her to get a lot of Hollywood roles. Um, I mean, in terms of her features, she doesn't look. She doesn't really. She has a little bit of Asian features, I guess. But in reality, she doesn't look that Asian. But it doesn't really matter, to be fair.
She said she's half
She's
Chinese.
half Chinese, yeah. I mean, of course, the race of the thing doesn't really matter. But I find, but yeah, so that's kind of the story on that, and I find that really stupid. And I think a lot of people are kind of trying to, there's a lot of conversation on that about
Hmm.
whitewashing different characters. I know the one that comes to mind is what was it, the Wall, the Great Wall, I think it was.
Matt Damon.
There we go, Matt Damon on that one. Yeah, so Matt Damon was supposed like for that movie, like it was a Chinese production. Of course, it was set in China about the Great
Hmm.
Wall. Like at first, it wasn't even like that historical, so it's like that's one thing. It's like fantasy beyond reason,
Hmm.
and like supposedly everyone's like, oh my goodness, Matt Damon's gonna play the savior, and like, oh my god, where it's like, well, one, I think he's a Roman soldier, and like two, he actually gets captured and is actually seen like someone who's like an outsider.
Hmm.
And I'm not sure. I haven't seen the movie, but the reason why is because I heard it's terrible.
That's fair.
But a lot of people are saying that like, well, not really. He's not really seen as the savior. Another one that comes to mind is what is it? It's Ghost in the Shell with
Okay.
what's her name? I'm trying to think. Her name is she plays Black Widow on the Avengers. I forget her name. Well known.
I'm sorry. I'm terrible with actors' names.
Yeah, no, it's okay. That's one thing you don't need to know in the world.
I really
I think
don't.
everyone knows. I think everyone knows what we're talking about. Um, but yeah, she's another person. Do you know what Ghost in the Shell was? Have you heard of Ghost in the Shell?
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Yeah. So I can tell you. Actually, her name. She's gonna be.
Yeah, the Great Wall thing. Apparently, all of the Matt Damon was playing someone from the middle of Europe, so I
Yeah.
don't see why people would complain about that.
Her name is. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm shitty with names. Oh, Scarlett Johansson. There we go.
Oh, Jesus.
Supposedly, because everyone's like, "Oh my goodness,
You meant in Avengers. Okay, sorry.
yeah, Avengers." Like it's like, oh my goodness, like she's a white person, she's in a Japanese movie, like what's up with this? And supposedly, funny enough, the creator of the show, he said he never intended for a Japanese woman to play that part.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it all depends on what type of story you're trying to tell, right?
I think it, yeah, I mean, so it depends a little bit on the type of story you're trying to tell. Like when you're telling something historical,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's better to try to, to keep the races and nationalities as accurate as possible.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be weird to have, a white person playing like someone from Africa, or an African person playing someone from China. It would just be weird. And then there's also certain stories where you just absolutely cannot change the race, like in Othello, that's a Shakespeare one, or in, let's say, Hairspray. I don't know if you know that movie. It's actually a musical. And it's like the whole conflict of the story is it's the white people and the black people in this town, and there's a conflict. You obviously can't change the black characters with white people and the white characters with black people. It would just be weird. It wouldn't make any sense.
It's funny enough because I was watching. I love this movie, and I'm actually reading the book Lawrence of Arabia. You've seen the movie?
Okay.
You've seen the movie? It's a brilliant movie. You should check it out. Everyone.
I recognize the name a lot. Never actually seen it.
Everyone listening to the podcast, check the movie out. It's awesome. It's an awesome movie, and like I wasn't really paying attention to the characters, but like the people who play like the Arabic characters are played by white people. And actually, the most famous one,
Jesus.
no, I'm gonna see. It's the guy who played Obi-Wan Kenobi in the first Star Wars, or in the Star Wars.
Okay.
I'm trying to see what his name was.
Do you mean episode 1, or do you mean
Alec Guinness? Alec Guinness.
Okay.
He played a character named Prince Faisal. And I'm looking at this, and I'm seeing a whole bunch of white people. Except, I think there's one guy who's actually not Muslim, but I guess you say Muslim, or just from that part of the world. At least he has that name.
Arabic?
Arabic. There we go. Sorry, I'm not. I wasn't culture sensitive enough. Sorry, guys.
Well, I mean, it was just kind of inaccurate. Anyway.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, I was just like, it was a good movie, except for that part. I was just like, damn it. I think they should do a reboot because of that. But no. Yeah, that's my point. That's something that's been kind of going on, right? Just that sort of thing, like whitewashing or like not portraying people right.
Yeah, in fact, that one article that you sent me about the person and her name, there was multiple mentions of there's a guy who completely dropped his role because everyone on the internet was like, "You're whitewashing the role. What are you doing?" And he was like, "Oh no, I didn't know." And so he dropped the role. And then I looked into the character, and the character's like just an American. I mean, so that's one thing. When a character is American and their parents are American and they don't have anything culturally related to the race that they are, I don't think it matters at all what race they are. Like Nick Fury in the Avengers, he's always been a white person until the Avengers movies.
Really?
And then they're like, yeah, and then, everyone knows the movies, obviously, like, let's say the movies are a lot more well-known than the comic books.
Yeah, definitely.
So in the comic books, they're like, okay, Nick Fury is retiring. His son, who is black, is coming out now. Like, he's going to start running it because we want our comic book character to represent the Nick Fury that most people know.
I see.
Nick Fury has always been white for the past, 60 years.
That makes sense. I mean,
And it's like, and he's an American, so it doesn't matter. And the same thing was, his name's Ed Skrein. He was going to play the villain in, I guess there's a Hellboy movie coming out. And it's like, everyone's like, oh, but he's supposed to be he's supposed to be Asian. I don't think it even says Chinese, just Asian.
Yeah.
And I looked into the character, and it's like, oh, he's a Marine. And if you look at him, he doesn't even really look Asian. Half of his face is kind of messed up. And it's like, oh yeah, his parents were also American. I'm like, okay, so why does it matter then? Why, and the guy completely dropped this role. I bet he was getting paid a lot of money for it. And
I think it's definitely about the story you're trying to tell. If it's about a woman, if it's about a man, it's about someone who's Chinese or half Chinese or whatever. I think you should just definitely tell that story. But if it's kind of like these kind of rules where it's just like the rules were not really made specifically for one type of person. Because I do agree, because people of different cultures and different backgrounds bring a certain story and different type of twist to that story that you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think if you're I think you're trying to capture that story with that type of person, then you have to cast that person. But if you're doing something historical, I definitely think you should try to cast people like who they actually are. Like if you're doing Lawrence of Arabia, I think you should have people of Arabic descent or from that
Yeah.
part of the world definitely try to play those roles.
You're
Or the
saying
bet.
it should only matter if it has some kind of bearing on the actual story.
And who knows? I think you might actually get better portrayals of those characters, of how they might
Probably.
actually are.
Yeah.
Not saying that if you're an Indian or whatever, or like a Native American, that you'll automatically be able to play those roles better. But I think you'll have something to bring to it because you have some type of connection to it. I think.
Yeah. Well, what about do you know the musical Hamilton? The one that's really big
Yeah.
right now. What do you think of that? Where it's like the person, like the director, who also wrote it and starred in it, like explicitly was like, I'm just going to make everyone like black mainly, or just like anything but white. I'm going to make all of the historically white people anything but white.
That's a really well. I don't really know much about. I know it's a very what's it called? I know it's a very popular play. Do they
Hmm.
take Do they go like, okay, we're gonna like tell the events, or are we gonna like just create some type of story out of it to kind of
No,
show
it's
some?
it's it's based on a biography of Alexander Hamilton.
Mhm.
Um, Most of it's really accurate. They skip a couple things, and I mean, obviously, because you can't fit the person's entire life.
Mhm.
They just do like a lot of the interesting parts of his life, and leading up to his death, which they skip over the event that actually led up to his death, but they kind of give a different reason for it. It's fairly accurate. It has a lot of references to things throughout his life.
Mhm.
Um, just the most inaccurate thing is that like they very explicitly were like, we don't want to have white actors, even though all of the characters, all I'm trying to think, almost all of them, but just about all of them are historically white. So
Yeah.
like George Washington comes out and it's like a 20-year-old black guy when George Washington at the time was in his 40s. That kind of thing.
Um, I don't know. My mind. I mean, it's kind of hard because I don't know. I probably would have to stay somewhat like with my logic, I guess.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know because it's kind of quite removed, but then you can say a lot of things for other things. Ah, Jesus.
Having trouble collecting your thoughts.
My mind is being just like, Eric, are you sure you want to say this? Um, I don't know. It seems weird for me.
I don't know.
I
I think it's a bad move. I think if you
Yeah.
have a historical character,
Yeah.
you should try to make the actor look like the character. I mean, especially when you're on stage, it's really easy to like, if you're just like, okay, I need someone, okay, the character's
Mhm.
a 40-year-old person from France. It's like you have quite a bit of leeway on stage because of
Yeah.
makeup and costuming, and you can use wigs. It's really easy. But when you're just like, I'm not going to put any effort into any of the characters looking like the actual person, it gets weird to me. It gets really
And then
weird.
here's the thing, though. I would say on that is like, what type of story you're trying to tell. If you're trying to tell like an historical story, then it seems kind of weird for me. Like
Hmm.
it's almost like if I think racism works both ways in a sense. Like it's almost like it'd be wrong for like a white person to like put on blackface and then portray a black character.
Hmm.
Would you say it's also the same if someone was someone of color and try to portray a white person?
I think it could be fine. I mean, honestly, like, I understand that blackface is really hated because of historical reasons.
Mm,
I'm totally fine if they have a person who's like, I mean, even if they're black, like if they're black and they're like, this person is just too good for this role. We need but I still think you should put in effort. I mean, that would be like, you'd have a lot of makeup, you'd probably have a wig,
yeah.
you would have a lot of stuff to make you look like the character.
Hmm.
I'm fine with that. I understand blackface just has a lot of political stuff around it, so obviously don't do that. But I'm totally fine with someone who's a different race trying to like I think for theater productions.
Hmm.
Well, I don't know, to an extent. I feel like I have to take that back a little bit because the more I think about it, the more I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it really depends because I think
yeah.
then I thought of like Miss Saigon, and I'm like I would feel really awkward if someone other than like an Asian person was trying to play.
I think it's about the story you're trying to tell. Like,
Yeah.
because with Hamilton, I think they're not really. I mean, they are trying to tell history, but not like history. They're trying to like put their own little spin on it, in a sense, because like they're trying to portray like if these types of people had these were like in that if they lived back then in that time, this is kind of like how it would be portrayed. So I don't know if they're really trying to tell history or they're trying to tell something, trying to tell a different type of story.
No, they're trying to tell history. The director's reasoning for it was just like, when asked about it, he was like, well, immigrants, are the reason the country exists. And African slaves or just black people in general helped build this country.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to show that. I'm like, well, why don't you show it with the story then?
Yeah.
Because then you get a few weird moments where it's like there's this one guy who, if I recall, he's like historically just a white person. He's historically European.
Yeah.
And his thing was like, I want to go free all the slaves, and then I'll free them, and they'll join the army and join the revolution,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll be able to fight for their rights.
Mm-hmm.
But then you have a black guy on stage saying it, and it just gives very different context.
And I think
it ends up, like I said, ends up making the motives seem different. It's odd.
I think they're just. One thing I think from that point of view is that they're trying to hide the fact that for a lot of history, Europeans had the power to do all these things, and like the one thing I think they're trying to bury is the fact that the Europeans had this power to like say they're gonna free the native or free the black man from the bondage of their not their stupidity, but like in their mind their primitiveness, I guess you can say.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what word they used back then. It was like not uncivilized. That was more 1800s. Anyway, go ahead.
So like it's kind of like they're trying to bury history in that idea where it's just like, well, you can't bury what was happening in the past. You know what I'm saying? Like it was true that like the Europeans had the power. They thought that they had the power to do these things. So it's almost like they're kind of burying history in its own right. And it kind of goes back to we were talking about the statues, right? And I was hearing a little bit more on it, and one of the arguments against it is that like, oh, they're burying the past or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't think you should bury the past. I think you should definitely tell the story, but definitely know the story you're telling, or a way to kind of bring that out that this is what the world used to be like, and this is how we kind of want to portray the world, the new world that we want to create, where everyone has the power that these Europeans had. I don't know. I can kind of there's like two again with my little. I'm in the middle of everything. I can't. Really it's hard. I bet everyone's like he doesn't stand for anything. I'm figuring it out, guys. Don't worry. I'm figuring everything out.
You'll get there.
We'll get there. Probably by podcast 30, I'll stand for one of these issues.
Yeah, you'll stand on one of these issues.
I'll stand on one of these issues. So,
not the rest, just at least one.
Yeah, we'll stand for one. But yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. But that brings out a really good question of just like how you want to portray things and portray history. But I think if you're trying to tell a story about history like in that idea, I think you should definitely try to tell what actually happened. It might not be the cutest or the most fun story, but the shit actually happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And definitely as like I think from coming from that play, I think that's something you should definitely feel from it, like, or like some that maybe the actors or like because if the director's already putting or the person who wrote it or he's already changing that type of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Maybe change a little bit that to like kind of have that message come out after that, like this is how things used to be and this is how we wanted like to change it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I think if you kind of hide it, it's kind of you don't really bring that out. It's just like you play about Hamilton, but if you add that little aspect of it, that's something. And I bet you the person's good enough to kind of to change it and to bring that out. So that's my point. I say I stood for something.
I think you did. I'm not sure which thing you're standing for.
I'm saying.
You think? Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Let the audience decide.
Well, yeah. Again, I'm gonna make a Twitter. So if you guys want to send me questions or Ben questions, I'll You can send it to History Made Awesome Twitter, or it's gonna be created today, Tuesday, or maybe Tuesday. It'll be created whenever day this comes out. I figured it out. I knew what you were saying. I listened back to it. I'm like, oh, that's what he was saying. I'm so stupid. I was like, yeah. So yeah, the Twitter will come out. You guys can talk about our ramblings and if we're wrong or if we're right or if you agree with me. If you agree with me, we'll be happy. I'm just
Oh no,
kidding. And I'm just kidding.
can't
Just
talk about as many politically charged things.
yeah, definitely. So yeah, that's
Everything we've talked about has been political, except for the media trying to kill the world.
exactly. Fuck, you cannot get political about that stuff. It's like nothing really matters.
Try.
Nothing really matters when you know you have
Yeah,
media
just
coming at you.
optimistic nihilism.
Brilliant. So yeah, that's some of the political stuff today. So like, have you what you do this week? Anything?
I've been setting up my schedule for the following quarter.
Oh yeah,
It's
how's that looking?
I set it up on an Excel sheet. I map like literally every single 30-minute increment for every day of every week.
Mm-hmm.
And
I made this terrible joke. I don't know if I should tell. I don't know if I should tell it.
okay,
I'm gonna say it, and if I don't like it, we'll cut it.
I don't know.
Okay,
Okay,
so
let's hear it. Let's hear it.
cause like my brother's he's currently on a semester right now, and
Yeah.
we're going to the quarter system, and
Mhm.
I feel like the quarter system is like it's like a quick death. Like
Okay.
it's like you're dying, but it's gonna happen quick. You know what I'm saying? And then I think that like a semester is like cancer. Like you're slowly dying. That's my point of view. But it's good because you get on the courses you get it over quickly. But like semester you're kind of going along. You're just still surviving. I don't know.
So the semester is dying in a desert.
Exactly. Exactly.
And the quarter is what, dying on a battlefield, maybe?
Exactly. Yes, brilliant. Yeah, that's the perfect way to if you want to know the difference between a quarter and semester system, that's my point of view. Coming from it.
Oh man.
Yeah, so
Okay, I think I found the new name for the podcast. That's my point of view.
oh, okay.
I think you've said it after. I think you've said it probably like 50 times last episode and maybe 30 times this episode.
We're gonna have a new episode. We're gonna have like a title for every episode. Last one it was what would I have for it? It's complicated.
Yeah.
This one's gonna be called that's my point of view. Brilliant. But yeah, so that's cool. How's your schedule looking?
Busy, very busy. It's like I said, literally every like 30-minute increment. I actually have to change part of it.
Yeah, I got you.
There's more things I forgot. So the way I do it is I create a general schedule for the entire quarter, and then I have like a version of it for each week.
Yeah.
And then I adjust it for whatever I'm doing that week. So like I have giant blocks of things where it's just like study, but or like errands, just like very vague. And then I make it more specific with like, okay, I have to do that this week. I have to do that tomorrow. I have to do just because, just I don't know. After my last semester was so crazily intense.
Yeah.
And it went interestingly. I'm trying to figure out a better system.
My quarter is gonna seem. I don't know. It's gonna be kind of interesting because I'm doing research. I'm doing research units.
Yeah.
For it, so I don't really know how many units it's gonna be. I don't know if it's gonna be 2 or 3 units. That's the thing I'll look to see later. But surprisingly, let's see. I'm thinking. Let's see, 13 units. I think. So I might add 2 units up on that. But I don't really see the research as like work. It's more like fun to me.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
So it's like but it's cool because it's not like something you like with the program I'm in. The research is kind of like a part of your schedule, so it's not like an extra thing, which is I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't really know the difference. Like, okay, whatever. But
I think it's a good thing. It keeps you on top of stuff.
yeah, so it's like something you kind of like have to do. And
Yeah.
instead of it's not like go to soccer practice or something like that. But no, I think that's good for me. But so yeah, I'm taking 13 units and I'm doing my research. So that should be fun.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but my last week, I don't know if I told you this. I had my first jury duty.
Oh yeah, no, you didn't tell me about that.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. A lot of waiting, a lot of waiting.
Did you make yourself undesirable so that they wouldn't pick you?
No, surprise. This is crazy. So my first jury duty, I think my everyone else in my family they got like simple things or whatever, like a domestic case or
Mm-hmm.
like ticketing. I don't know, some like I don't know things, civil cases, things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Legit. So like I get called up, right? I'm like, okay, wonder like I was joking to my parents like, what if I get like the OJ case or something like that, right? Like some big ass like case, some murder case or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I swear I swear to you, my first case, I walk in there, I find out it's a murder case, a homicide.
Wow.
Exactly. And it's funny because I'm listening to this and listening to the judge rattle off what the guy's thing is, and then it's funny because me and another guy would just look at each other like, what in the world did we get ourselves into?
Dang.
And so like I literally like I took the because you can like get yourself out because of like a personal hardship or whatever.
Hmm.
So I'm like, I just like, I'm definitely taking this out. So like, I basically said like, I start school like in 4 weeks. I don't have a car or whatever. I can't do this, and I got out. I'm like, yes,
Nice.
yes, yeah.
If I recall, I got summoned to jury duty pretty soon after turning 18,
Oh,
but I had just moved
I got
to a
you.
different city.
Mhm.
So they're like, "Oh, okay, just let us know." So I let them know, and they're like, "Okay, just don't show up then." Like, just they're like, "Okay, like you don't have to come anymore."
That's
And
cool.
I've not never gotten anything since.
Really,
Yeah.
that's cool. But yeah, like so, I was just like, that, I only got like sent to one case because like I was afraid that I would have to be sent again, and if I use my what's it called, my not doing what is it called, my deferral or whatever,
Hmm.
that I would not work again. So I only got sent up to one supposed case, but it was just crazy to find out that I got sent up to a jury duty case, which was crazy.
You're in a homicide case.
A homicide case, same thing.
Wow.
I don't see the
Yeah, it's the
difference.
same thing. Like, all jury duty is homicide once I get there.
Fuck. What? I wonder what's the thing where it's just like, how do you get yourself undesirable? Like, I'm racist and like I don't like anybody, but I love everybody at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I don't know. My sister's had to do it a couple of times. Her boyfriend's done it a bunch of times. Where it's just like, yeah, just I don't know. You just make them not want you.
Create a persona that's like, I hate everybody and I love certain people. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. You have to kind of gauge them once you get there. I think same as most. My family's very good at like persuasion and stuff.
Persuasion. Shit.
Yeah, I don't know. We have a lot of practice.
Damn, son. Freaking spies over there.
No, straight up, my oh, not spies, but my grandma was adopted,
Mhm.
and for years, she was trying to figure out who her parents were,
Yeah.
and my aunt found her mom, back in the 90s, and then with the advent of internet,
Mhm.
and this is actually cool because of the 23andMe, the genetic testing thing.
Just
It's
explain.
they send you a vial,
Okay.
and you do like a cheek swab.
Oh, like the
And then they
ancestry or whatever.
Yeah, it used to be a lot more than Ancestry, but but a bunch of anyway pharmaceutical companies and stuff
Okay.
kind of shut down all the cool medical stuff.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so Ancestry, it's mainly Ancestry right now, and my grandma did it, and she found she had a cousin,
Mm.
and she was like, "Whoa, how do I have a cousin?"
Mhm.
Like, because she's adopted, so she
Yeah.
didn't know any of her family. So we contacted them, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm like, I know who your father is."
Oh, that's weird.
So we found out like it's a crazy story. I would try to tell it, but it's literally hours long. It's crazy. Anyway, so we end up eventually finding out. Oh, okay, he was an extreme criminal.
Ooh.
Do you know the movie Catch Me If You Can? It's
I've
about a
heard of it.
guy. It's about a guy who this and it's a real life story. Who throughout his life he just pretended to be different things.
Yeah.
He bought a pilot's outfit and became a co-pilot.
Mm.
He bought a doctor's outfit and just became a doctor.
Yeah, I think I've seen it. Yeah.
He took the bar exam despite having no schooling and became a lawyer. I mean, he did that stuff.
Yeah.
My grandfather did that only mainly with military.
Oh wow.
So he was in the Air Force. He was in the Air Force
Mhm.
and was medically discharged because he had an extreme like blow to the head.
Yeah.
He was medically discharged,
Mhm.
and he used his knowledge of the operations of the military he would just travel around town. And the way his thing worked is he would go to the bank
Mhm.
and say, hey, oh no, so let's see, I forget the order. No, he would go to the like the motor club or whatever, and like, you know, just like join them. There was one in basically every city around the country.
Yeah.
And then he would also go to the military base and give the military orders saying, I am the highest ranking person here. I have an assignment that I can't talk about. You have to do anything I say.
Wow.
But it was, and you know, he knew what military orders looked like, and he would just put it as, you know, from so and so, this extremely high ranking thing, and he would make himself the highest ranking person at the military base.
What?
And then he'd go to the bank, and now that he's, you know, a military man and he's part of the motor club and whatever, or Rotary Club, I forget what they call it. He'd go to the bank and say, hey, I just moved here. I don't have money here yet, but I'm moving my stuff in, and the moving company is holding my stuff, and they say that they're going to charge me a ridiculous amount of money per night to hold it.
Yeah.
I need a loan in order to pay them to get my furniture. And he'd take out like a $5,000 loan.
Okay.
And this was this was like in the 60s.
Okay.
And I mean, it was a large amount of money. It was a very large amount of money.
Yeah.
And then he would just take the money and leave. Or if he wanted to, he would stay at the military base for a while, and he would just be like, oh yeah, I have orders that I have to fly this plane, because he was a pilot.
Yeah, yeah.
But like, it was these planes that like he'd never flown before, and he's like, I just want to learn how to fly it.
What?
So he would learn how to fly these planes. And one of the craziest things he did is one time he borrowed a plane from, I think it was from a company that like rented small planes.
Mhm.
And so it was like, okay, yeah, and like, here's my collateral. Like, I think he like gave him a car as collateral that he bought with the money that he stole from the bank. And he flew the plane across the country to wherever he felt like being, and then just left it there. And he just abandoned the plane. So my mom asked the FBI for the files on him, because there's this one FBI agent that like tracked him for decades.
What?
He got caught one time and then escaped.
What?
And then he got caught 2 more times.
Huh.
The reason he got caught is because he had kind of an ego.
Yeah.
And he was on the radio. He was doing a talk show, and he always used his real first name, but a different last name. I think it sounds like he did it for fun, just to taunt people. And when the people got there, he was gone. They got to the radio station, he was gone. And he was trying to scam someone. He met someone at a bar, and he was trying to scam them. And it turns out he was scamming the FBI agent that was after him.
What?
And the FBI agent didn't recognize or didn't know who he was right away.
Yeah.
But then he looked at his case files and realized that it was him, and then arrested him.
What?
That was the first time he got arrested. So they knew what city he was in. So they were looking for him. And then they happened to meet him at a bar, and they're like, holy shit, it's the guy I'm after.
What?
And he did so many stupid things. One time he flew, he faked documents saying that he flew to South America,
Yeah.
and he had fake diamonds. And he was trying to sell the fake diamonds to real criminals who were smuggling diamonds. And he's like, yeah, I'm a diamond smuggler. See, here's my diamonds. Look, I have proof that I was in that country. So he made he had fake diamonds and was trying to sell them off as real diamonds to diamond smugglers. And that was the second time the FBI caught him. I don't remember how they caught him, but they caught him and he had all these fake gems. They're like, yeah, they're just glass.
Oh my
They're completely fake. And he has all these fake travel documents saying that he just came back from somewhere in South America. And there's literally, we have all of his FBI files, literally hundreds of pages. What? They gave us 2 different documents. The first one was 200 something pages.
Yeah.
And the second one was 300 something pages. And there's a lot of redacted like names and stuff.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
I mean, there's also interviews with his mom and his siblings in the files. And we talked to, so he married twice. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, he has some children that are still alive.
Yeah.
And they've kind of talked to us, kind of not.
Yeah.
He has the craziest life ever. That
is crazy.
Yeah, but his entire thing was just he was charismatic. He was able to convince people of things. And that definitely carried on in the family.
Charisma definitely, I think, I mean, if you have charisma, you can take you far, really far. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you look at like a lot of the best rulers in the that have ruled, pretty much, you have like I think Hitler's probably the best example
Yeah, he
of
had all
that.
the mental disorders, though. I mean, like the Parkinson's and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, charisma will take you extremely far, like your grandfather showed.
Yeah, I mean, and then it carried on to my grandmother. She did some crazy stuff.
Shit.
I think the craziest thing she ever did is, so she had 3 children,
Yeah.
and she was a single mother. One time she was like, she couldn't pay rent at the house they were staying at.
Yeah.
So the landlord changed the locks while they were away,
Yeah.
to sort of hold them hold their stuff hostage. It's like, hey, you haven't paid me in months.
Yeah.
And so what she did is she broke a window, called the window repairman, and when the window repairman got there, they moved everything out of the house, cleaned the entire house, repaired the window, and left. Locked the doors and left. So it's like, imagine, you lock the doors and it's like, oh my God, these crazy tenants, they're terrible. Everything's a mess. They haven't paid me in months. And you get back, you're like, everything is gone. Everything is clean. Where the hell did they go? And I don't know if this is the house that she moved in right after, but another thing that she did very soon after that is she found a house that she knew was abandoned. Like not abandoned. It was owned, but it was like the people that owned it didn't live there.
Yeah, I got you.
She moved in there, wrote up a fake lease, and they lived there for months. And then when, obviously she was caught. I mean, the owner showed up. They're like, "Hi, what are you doing here?" She played innocent and was like, "Oh, I'm renting the house. See, I have the lease and I have everything." And they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, because she has these 3 kids and she's like a single mother, little, whatever. This is in the 80s.
Yeah.
It's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." Like, "Oh no, this is our house." Blah blah blah. She's like, "Oh no, that's terrible. I've been living here for months." Blah blah blah. And they're like, "Okay, how about we rent the house to you for the amount you've been paying?"
Oh.
So her lease, which she had it was a pretty cheap fake rent.
Yeah.
So first of all, she lived there for a few months for free. And then it's like, hey, now we get to live there at a cheap price.
Sweet.
Yeah, she's done a lot of crazy stuff. My uncle, meanwhile, has used his powers for good. He's an entrepreneur, and
That's
he's gotten, but I mean, the charisma's still there. He's the I've told you about him before, right? He's the CEO of a tech company.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
He's well off. He's not like super extremely wealthy, but he's well off.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in his house right now. It's 39th floor and great view of the Empire State Building.
That's cool. So like literally like in the heart of it, or heart of New York, which is pretty tight.
Yeah, he's in Tribeca. It's the most expensive neighborhood in New York. Sometimes the second most. It's either number 1 or number 2, depending on where you look. It's a nice area. It's nice.
Yeah, I know my family doesn't really have any big stories like that. I think I'll have my dad on as a guest later so he can tell some stories. But yeah, a lot of them came from I know my father, he came from Nicaragua, which is like this small country in Central America. And I know what he told me was basically that, he left when he was like a little kid, and basically he drove, not by himself, but with like his aunt, drove all the way from Nicaragua all the way to the United States to get picked up by his mom.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Dang.
and then they lived pretty much in LA for most of their life, and then the entire family just worked their asses off to kind of get to where we're here today.
Gotcha.
They can probably tell more. If I have my dad on, he can probably tell a lot more stories. But yeah, that's kind of like, that's the immigrant story.
That's sort of, that's my grandfather is very much has the stereotypical old-fashioned American dream story where it's like, he grew up, he had 6 siblings.
Wow.
They lived in one small apartment with I think 3 or 4 other families.
Mm-hmm.
His father worked at the steel mill, that kind of a thing, like very stereotypical. They were dirt poor.
Mm-hmm.
Father worked at a factory, that kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then my grandfather went and joined the military. At one point in time, he was stationed in California, so he decided to move there because the weather's better than anywhere else. And so he started off dirt poor, joined the military for like he was stationed for 4 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he became a banker. He started off just as a teller, worked his way up to be manager, worked at multiple other banks. He was always the manager. The whole city knew him. he helped start a lot of small businesses. He gave them their small business loans, so everyone kind of knew him. For retirement, he bought a small deli on Main Street.
Wow.
And then it exploded in business. It went from making, I think their profit was in the tens of thousands a year, and it went up to the hundreds of thousands. It became big because everyone knew him, so it was good advertisement.
Yeah.
And then he just recently sold it a few months ago and is now 100% retired.
Wow.
And he owns his own house. He owns 2 cars. He has his wife. He has his children.
Yeah.
His grandchildren. Just the very stereotypical American dream of like start off dirt poor, work your way up in the world, and become comfortable.
That's the thing. Like people like I don't know. Like there's a what you call there's a connection to like hard work and like success. Like there's that clear connection. Like it ain't gonna be easy, but like if you put the work in, you're definitely gonna put yourself in a position where you can succeed. And I think the United States is one of those few places I think in the world. And I think the problem is that I think people think that like the quote unquote American dream is unattainable in our modern world. But I think the chance of you making it big in the United States is better than anywhere else in the world. And I think that's the problem with like not the problem. I'd say that's one of the things that people talk about is that like there's a huge gap in wealth. Like you have the super uber rich and you have people who are super super poor. And I think I think that's what happens when you live in a place like this where like you have the chance to make it big, but there's also the chance to like get really hurt by the system.
Yeah.
But the system, I think.
So the system's definitely built where the rich have a huge leg up. I mean, you can get to the best colleges, you can get the best tutors, you can get the best of this, you can have the best extracurricular, you have better connections. And honestly, the generic American dream is a lot harder to get now than in the 50s and 60s, I feel like.
I can see
just
that.
Because back then, if you had a high school degree or diploma, if you had a high school diploma, you could get a job and work your way up in the company. And if you had a college degree, you were basically just guaranteed to be well off.
Yeah.
And nowadays, if you have a high school diploma, it's like, okay, you're going to be working minimum wage jobs. You're probably not going to work your way up, but you might eventually find a job where you get paid better. And if you have a high school degree, it's like, okay, you can probably try to work your way up slowly. It's a lot more about connections now, I think, than ever. It's always been that way. But I definitely agree that like the working hard sort of generates luck. It just does.
And I think the hard work has probably changed. I think before those connections always been the same because like a good example is your grandfather, whatever. Like pretty much he came here as an immigrant. I don't know what his education was, but like he was in like a job system, right? Where he was in a bank. He probably got connections that way, right?
Yeah.
And then he got those connections and then started a business, and then that business began to explode. I think those connections have always been there, but I think the way in which you get connections have changed now. I think there's still probably connections you can get in the workplace, like at your starting job or whatever, and work your way up that way. But I think now that connections probably changed. Now, I think now better than any other time, there's a lot more opportunities to go to college than back then. I would per se. Because not many people had to go to college. Not many people, like you said before, not many people had to go to college.
It was a lot cheaper back then, though.
But
sorry, go ahead.
but I mean, that's all what's relative. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, because I think there's a lot more money now you can get for loans and things of that nature. I think.
Yeah, I mean, so the reason I say that is because like back then you could really just work like a part-time job and pay your way through college. Right now, that's not the case. You have to take, like you said, there's a lot of opportunities for loans, but they weren't necessary back then.
True.
And even my grandfather, I mean, he had every opportunity to go to college, and he did start to.
Yeah.
And then he got intimidated by a specific class. There's some specific class he had to take, and he felt like he couldn't do it, and so he just didn't. And he, because of when he was born,
Yeah.
because of when he was alive, when he was an adult, he was still able to become the manager of a bank without any education, without any formal education beyond high school, just at all.
Yeah.
And nowadays that's not possible. Nowadays, if if they really want you, they'll pay for your degree and then you can become like a bank manager. They'll pay for your economics or business or whatever degree that they want you to have. But it's definitely more necessary, I feel. But I don't know.
And I think the other thing is that there's so many people going to college too. So I think that kind of system has kind of changed as well. You know, you kind of have to go to college to do those things. But I think the hard work is still the same, like that the mentality. I just think that where it's happening is changed now. It's less in the it's less in the workplace, and now it's moved to school. Where before it wasn't like that. Like if you went to college, it's like, why are you wasting? No, I think back then it's almost like, why are you wasting your time? You can go to like work at a steel mill and make a decent amount of money or some other type of job. But now those jobs are kind of leaving, and I think that's something we can talk about later. We get a little thing together, but I don't know. I think that's pretty much all I have.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that. It's there. You still need the hard work, but it's in a very different place.
Yeah, that's where I was coming from.
Yeah, that's what you said. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
If you want, I'm fine. Well, how have you, or what have you been up to the last week? We kind of got off track.
That was good. It was good. Last week, to be fair, I think the only thing I had to do was the jury duty, which is okay.
Oh yeah.
This week it's been pretty chill. I've been running. Like this is one of my things that like me and my brother do this. Like we'll wake up like at 4 o'clock in the morning and do workouts. This is something I was doing last 3 quarters.
Okay.
I would just wake up 4 o'clock in the morning because like that's me, and just get after it and get a workout in. I've been running. It's been like 100 degrees or whatever, and I just been like, I'm just gonna go run. So I do a mile in the 100-degree heat.
Sounds fun.
Since it's fun.
Yeah.
And like I don't like anyone listen to this. Like if you're gonna do that, drink like an ocean of water before you do that.
Get something with electrolytes, then you'll be better.
That's something for after though, because electrolytes are for like, because when you sweat, the electrolytes replace the sweat.
Yeah, that's a good way of saying it.
Yeah. So basically, that's how you should use those types of drinks. So I've been doing that. I've been like getting after it, running 100-degree heat. How about you?
Exercise-wise, I have these 2 different exercise regimens that I've been doing. One of them's more for strength, and one of them's for I don't know. They call it skill. I'm going to call it flexibility.
I got you. Those are really good, especially as you get older. You start to lose it. So the more you can build it up, the better you're going to be.
Yeah, man. I used to be in so much better shape than I am now. It's really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
and I don't know. The electrolyte. I would recommend drinking electrolytes before and after, like for you personally too.
Do not drink Gatorade like when you're on the couch. That's like the bad. That's not.
I would also recommend trying to find something other than Gatorade. Gatorade has so much sugar in it.
True.
It sounds silly, but drink Pedialyte. It's meant for like infants, but it's literally Gatorade like squared minus the sugar.
Really?
Yeah. It's really good for when you're sick too.
Is that like can you find that, like, where can you find that? Like at a CVS or like...
It'll be in the baby aisle of any grocery store and any pharmacy and any Target.
Is it well known in the fitness community, or you have some secret on us that we don't know?
It's slightly known it's decently known in certain fitness communities, and it's really well known in the like terminally ill communities. My mother has a disorder where she can't retain any water literally at all.
Yeah.
On top of she has a bunch of other problems. Yeah. And I actually have the thing we get is called Pedialyte Pops. Picture Otter Pops without the sugar, or they might have a little bit of sugar. Okay. And it's actually good for you. Pedialyte. Like they literally look like Otter Pops, only they say Pedialyte on them, and they're okay flavor wise, but they're really good for you.
I bet you, like I've turned up to like the soccer film, like what the hell are you drinking? I think
I mean,
you're just like a ring pop or whatever. Like
yeah,
this is I'm on the end, guys. I'm on the end.
Yeah, but yeah, it's called Pedialyte. It's like pediatrician and light for electrolytes. It's really good for you. They have a couple different flavors. Like I said, they're meant for children, so they try to make them like slightly appetizing at least.
Why
but
do
they're
you,
really good for you.
why do you think it's only for children though?
That's just who they're targeted at. It's meant for, when children are sick, especially if they have like something stomach related.
Yeah.
It's hard to get them to hydrate themselves,
Mhm.
especially if it's an infant.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's like these are, like I said, it's really it's more concentrated than Gatorade is.
Mhm.
Um, that's just who it's targeted towards. A lot more people are using it now for just general hydration.
Mhm.
But the initial, I mean, you can tell by the name Pedia. It's like pediatric. It's
Yeah, I got you.
child.
Yeah.
It was. That's just who it was initially for.
Mhm.
In fact, now that I look at it, if you look at their website, it says, prevent dehydration in children and adults. So it looks like they're branching out.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, now that I'm looking at their website, and it actually shows like a 5-year-old and like a 30-year-old drinking it. Wow. Okay. Looks like they're really trying to emphasize that it's for everyone now.
Good. Cause I feel a little weird. Okay, I'm looking at it. Yeah. I think I've seen those. I'm not sure. I might have to
they're
try that.
they're they're always in the children's aisle, that I've seen. Like, so you're gonna walk next to all the diapers and things. You're like, okay, there's the thing I need.
Like
Like,
super fitness guy going to the baby aisle. Like it's,
yeah, I mean it's
imagine like a buff you like going to the
yeah, but the Pedialyte pops are really good. They're the
baby.
exact same price per ounce as the regular stuff, and it's like a variety of flavors, and it's Otter Pops. They're good.
That actually that I might try that. I'm gonna try that.
Yeah, I literally have a freezer full of them right now because my wife is a little bit sick.
I got you. That's cool. I want to try that. But no, I've been like, cause I've been getting after it and then just like chilling because I know I'm gonna try to use all the time I have on break, just enjoy it, and then when I get into school,
Yeah,
I'm just gonna work my buns off and like not see like the sun.
that's what my plan is. That wasn't my plan, but it's sort of what the result has been. I'm like, I'm just gonna work hard all the way leading up to it. And I'm like, but I'm in a really nice place in New York right now. I just want to chill.
I say just chill, like seriously
Yeah.
chill, and then like a week before start getting your mind prepared for it, and then like it's funny because the quarter like with the quarter system, it's like the second day you go to class is when things start, or maybe like the latter half of that first class on that
Hmm.
first day is when things start happening.
I honestly prefer that too.
Yeah,
I
because
don't know. I'm weird.
semesters is very much just like, okay guys, we're gonna start like 3 days from now or whatever.
Yeah, it's like, okay, we're gonna just review everything you learned, like, for all of last semester. We're just gonna use the first 6 weeks for that. And then that literally happened in my chemistry class. It was bad. I was like, oh my god. And the teacher had built it up so much. He's because I was the same teacher. And he's like, yeah, the first 2 weeks we're gonna review, and then we're just going into it. I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then we moved.
Super
The
slow.
first 6 weeks, literally the first 6 weeks were review,
Hmm.
and I was, oh my god, it was terrible for me. Some people loved it, but for me, I was like, oh god,
Just let it
no,
go. Just let
why?
it go.
Yeah,
I got you.
because I went from a summer semester of a class
Hmm.
from stuff I didn't really know,
Yeah.
and then and then in the fall full length semester,
Hmm.
and that's when it was like, okay, let's review. You know how you learned all that stuff in 6 weeks?
Yeah.
We're gonna go back over all of it over the course of
Ah.
6 weeks. And I'm like, oh,
Ah.
why do I even need to be here?
Ah. Damn.
It was
That
it
would.
was bad.
That sucks.
Yeah, it was.
In history, we don't really do that. It's kind of like you guys already know what's going on. Let's go. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's kind of like what happens. Except the one class, the one history I took, France 18. No, it was 18. No, fuck, 1790 to like modern day. I think it was, or something around that. We
Okay.
did a little bit of like review. It was funny because like because there's a class before that, and it basically just covers the French Revolution and the wars, which is an awesome class with Adam Zintek. If you're at UC Davis, take it. It's an awesome class. Fun, cool guy. There's actually the guy I'm doing my research with.
Hmm.
You met him already. You talked to him. He's
Yes.
a cool guy. Definitely take that class. We talk about like the Napoleonic Wars and like all this stuff. Super cool class. But yeah. So like that first few weeks of that next class after it was just covering all the things we just covered, and it was like
Huh.
it was okay because like I know this. We're good. I'm like
Yeah.
I'm like the smart we're like I'm like the smartest kid in the class for like the first 3 weeks, and then it's just we're all on the boat of like I have no idea what's happening. Like that class was that was funny because the first class was kind of easy because I kind of understood some of the stuff, but like
Okay.
the latter like the next class, it just got so confusing. Even
Mm.
for like for me, I'm usually on top of things when it comes to history. I had a general idea, but like that last question on the final, ooh, bro, that was just like explain everything we talked about in in like 8 pages. That was kind of like the question, and make a good argument with it. And that's something I talked about on the what's it called on the vlog. This is kind of like a reaction to the vlog and like why I was stressing out. Like literally, like I started. It was actually like two papers,
Mm.
so they're both like 16 pages altogether around. They're two different topics, and like I'd finished the first paper like on the Thursday before I was about to leave to the East Coast,
Mm.
and the Friday and the it was due 11:59 on Friday, and so I was flying over to the East Coast on Friday, and I'm trying to think right now. I finished like so pretty much I was just typing things out, just trying to get a rough draft out like in one day, pretty much.
Mm.
And then so I got a first draft done. I got about 6 pages probably. Like at I have to say, but I'm trying to think right now. Sorry. It's the time. Trying to work the time difference right now into my head. So it was about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
East Coast. No, not East Coast. Like Pacific, I think. Around Pacific.
Okay.
On the plane. On the plane there, and I got like
Mm.
4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I started a whole new draft, a whole new paper because I didn't like the argument I was giving. So literally, I was like on the subway with with my tablet, just typing up a new essay, just busting one out. Just like, I was so I said last I was so stressed. I really didn't care. Like I was in Starbucks, just like I don't know if I said this last podcast, but I will never think of a Starbucks ever again after doing that. But my reason why is because like I'm super dead tired. I'm super dead. I think I told you the story. I haven't told the story to the podcast yet. I was super tired, and all I wanted was like a 5 minute nap. I had my time, 5 minute nap. That's all I wanted. I only got 4 hours of sleep, and like it's the last day of finals, so I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna take this nap. So I go take this nap. It's feeling good, right? I'm not asleep. It's just like it's just feeling so good. I have a minute left on the snap, and one of the employees like snaps, "Oh, you can't sleep here." I'm like, bro. I was like, oh damn it. So I just kept on typing. I would never go to Starbucks again. I would never, because they didn't let me sleep. I would never go to Starbucks again. So but no, like that. So like I literally had to bust it out like in a day, and then
Dang.
review it like for I had to like relook at it for 4 hours. For that class, like I really don't care what I get. I'm just gonna like just turn this thing in. Surprisingly, I'm not gonna say the grade, but I was okay with it. It wasn't super bad. It wasn't like
C
oh
plus. Oh yeah.
no, actually it was a B.
Okay.
It was okay. It was good. But no, like yeah. So oh, I don't know what we were talking about, but yeah. Oh, we were talking about like the courses or whatever. But yeah, that was kind of that's how my last quarter ended. Hopefully yours your first semester your first quarter is not gonna be like that, right? Where you're taking
uh,
like 16 units or whatever.
I'm taking 16 units.
Oh,
It wasn't going to be initially, but yeah, kind of happened.
I'm gonna have to like do the sign of the cross on you and like pray the Lord you survive.
Well,
You'll be
I'm
okay.
taking an easy math class. I'm taking a probably like not that hard physics class.
Mhm.
I'm taking one class that I know for a fact I'm gonna really enjoy.
That's cool.
I'm taking one class that'll be like the death of me, and, and then I'm taking it's a mandatory 1 unit class for people who are transferring into the College of Biological Sciences.
I got you. That's brave step. Usually you got the advice right that you should probably do 13 or not kill yourself in the first one.
Yeah, I don't know that my last semester was not only more units than any counselor would advise, but
How many was it?
it was 23 and a half.
Oh.
Um, and it was also classes that, I mean, there were two biology classes that literally every professor who I mentioned it to, they're like, don't take those at the same time.
Oh.
I even lied to one of the professors whose class I got into. She's like, oh, so you've already taken the other one, right? I was like, yeah, totally. I've definitely already taken it. I'm not signed up for it right now because I was worried she wouldn't let me into the class. Oh my god.
Do you remember we had this for a podcast. We had this his name was Morales. He was that's actually how we met.
I liked him.
He was cool. One his little side story to that. Just to tell you how hard of a teacher he was. He'd always boast about how like
how many people drop.
Yeah, no, I was getting to that, but like
I know.
He boasts about like he had the best political science like program in all of the community colleges in California.
Yeah, and how he set it up and all that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So to give you an idea of like how hard this professor, I'll just say it. How hard this professor was, like he had like maybe 30. This is not our class, another class. He had like 30 students enrolled or whatever, right?
It's like, yeah, it was like 28 or something. It was close to 30.
Near the end of the quarter, he had like
two
people left.
It was two. It was literally two.
Two people left in the entire class.
Yeah, it was funny because that section was in a bigger room because there were so many people.
Yeah.
Oh man.
That was hilarious. But like, I'm trying to think why I was telling the story.
Something about difficult teacher.
What was I gonna say? I just forgot. I was gonna move on to something. Oh yeah, okay. This was telling the story. So like, he basically like a lot of his people from that class were like super high achieving students. Not in that class, but in another class I took with him. It was
okay.
It was world politics or something like that.
Mm.
Yeah. So like all those kids are like almost a lot of kids who like are in the program, like go to like really big schools or whatever, like pretty like the Berkeleys and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like he was telling the story of one kid. I don't know how many units he was taking. I think he was working a full job. I think he was taking like 24 units. I think, and like, or he was taking an ungodly amount. I don't remember how much it was, but like, I guess like by the end of finals, he just looked dead. Like he was like, he did not look okay. Like he looked sick. I'm just like, oh my god. And it's true, right? That you only take a certain amount of units, right? There's like a limit.
There is. I actually went past the limit.
And you had to get like what's it called? You had to ask for permission, right?
If you go above 18 units, you have to ask for permission. They don't let you go above 21 units though. They just don't. I had to convince them to let me do it. It was interesting.
Oh goodness. And for me, guys, like I think the most I've taken was like, I don't know, like 14 maybe. If that. 16 was the most, and that was pretty crazy. But I think my thing is like, if you plan your schedule right, if you have like a set thing, and you have a priority straight, and you make sure you get your rest when you need to. And I think one thing I would say is like take 10-minute naps. Like in the middle of the day, if you're tired, like if you have a little rest, take a 10-minute nap. That's like that's my ticket to success. Those 10-minute naps will like save you.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, take breaks when you study. You shouldn't study nonstop for 3 hours.
No. I'd say
take very short breaks. Like take like 10-minute breaks.
I'd say
take your 10-minute naps.
Yeah, exactly. I would also say work out too.
Yes.
Like do like an hour and a half and then go work out, and then come back, get your whatever water, eat or whatever, and then come back and just go on doing your homework. That's another thing I would do too. Is like
I like to do that, but I actually can't with the way my schedule is. This.
All you need. This one thing I would do too is just do burpees.
Yeah, or I mean, even if you don't want to do that much, you could even just walk around. You just need to get like your blood flowing.
Yeah.
To some degree.
Yeah. So that's how you get after it in college.
Yeah. Man, that last semester though, it was like, I started off on top of all my classes, and I'm like, I'm gonna get ahead in all the classes in case something happens.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, I'm ahead in this class, and then I was actually gone for a full week. I was doing a theater thing. I had to travel to Denver.
Oh wow.
And when I got back, I'm like, crap, now I'm behind.
Oh,
it didn't matter that I got ahead. I was behind at that point because I didn't learn some of the things in the classes.
Yeah.
And then it was like, okay, this week I'm going to catch up on this class. Now I'm behind in that class. This week I'm going to catch up on this
I know,
class.
yeah.
So each week it was like, okay,
on something.
I would map ahead. I'm like, okay, I have a final in these two classes, or not a final, but an exam in these two classes this week, and the other 3 classes the next week. So I'm going to study just for that class until Monday, and then I'm going to study Tuesday and Wednesday for that Thursday exam. And it did not go well sometimes. Sometimes I'm like, okay, I'll only have 1 hour to study for that lab exam.
It's like literally juggling, like legit. It's like juggling. It feels like you're juggling. Like the classes.
It was more like it was juggling, but it was more like I was bouncing the balls. So it was like I was juggling them at first, and then it was like, oh crap, I dropped one. Okay, bounce though, so I can catch it. I'm gonna throw it extra high. That way, when that one bounces, I'll have time to grab it before it comes back down, so I can catch it. It was interesting.
Brilliant. So yeah, that'll definitely be our week. That'll definitely be our. We'll be stressing together.
Yeah, we'll have to figure out time to hang out. I mean, I have time set aside for lunch. We could do that.
Yeah.
Or we could do exercises together. I don't know what exercise. No, you exercise super early in the morning.
I can exercise whenever. I think for me the reason why I like exercise at 4 o'clock in the morning, one because it's like I'm like way better than anybody else. Sorry, just kidding. No. But no. Well, one thing is because if you're at UC Davis or at any other type of like university and they have a gym, all the all the squat racks will be taken like around 9 or 8. So I like to do my leg day, especially early in the morning, so I get the squat rack. Another reason is why is because like I would have like early classes or whatever, and like I feel that when you do a 4 o'clock morning workout, it's just like you've already accomplished something in the day.
Yeah.
So you kind of have like that positive boost going throughout the day. And then like to make up the sleep because you might like 5 or 6 hours of sleep or whatever. I just do like a 10-minute nap throughout the day just to kind of like stay awake. So that's the reason why I do my 4 o'clock morning workouts. But I can do it whenever.
I definitely like doing that, waking up in the morning and like getting stuff done.
Yeah.
The problem is I'm not living on campus or really even that close to campus. So my day starts like, okay, I think I'm going to wake up at 6. I don't really want to wake up at 4 because I'm going to get home late. I'm going to wake up at 6.
Yeah.
Be ready by 6:30 and drive for an hour. So, yeah.
And we'll figure something out.
That's the problem.
We're smart people. We can figure something out.
Yeah. I mean, we can also hang out like on the weekends and stuff.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We also have the podcast, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forgot what I was about to say. What days of the week do you have classes on? Do you try to concentrate them on a couple of days, or do you spread them out?
I have classes every single Monday through Friday for this one.
Gotcha.
But I don't really remember. I know that Monday. Oh yeah, so like I know my Monday is like super packed, but my Friday is like super chill. I know it's like it's spread out but it's like chill enough. It's not like I have like an ungodly amount, which is pretty good.
Yeah, it's funny because like on most of the days I have 3 classes, and on Friday I have 2, but then on Thursday I have 4, just 4 classes really close together, all happen on the same day. It's crazy.
I got you. Yeah, that'll be interesting. I think that's good for today. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed our little ramblings. We kind of went all over the place. We went from talking about North Korea and like race in terms of
media
roles of acting roles, all the way to talking about how baby food is good for working out.
It's not baby food. It's just marketed toward babies or toward parents. Whatever.
Baby food. And then
it's in the baby aisle. It is literally next to the baby food. So I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll keep it at baby food, and then we went to talk about like how surviving college and surviving a 23 unit semester, and how I would never do that in my life. But
hey, I mean, I ended up with almost all A's, so I mean.
You're good.
It's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah. I might actually no. I might have to do that if I get into graduate school. So.
If you do, I'll help you. I ended up with 5 A's and 2 B's, so I think I did something right.
Okay. Stop gloating.
I am gloating.
Just kidding.
I worked hard for that gloating. I worked hard.
I worked hard so I can gloat on one podcast that I might be in the future.
Yeah, it's literally the only reason I did any of that. I didn't actually need any of those classes. I was just doing it so I could gloat about it. And
Brilliant. But no, we talked a lot of cool stuff. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the podcast. We're gonna have another one next week. This one will come out on Tuesday. We're gonna have new people come out, so it won't just be us two men rambling. We'll have other opinions come out and talk about what they feel about these things.
could be extra political.
We're gonna make it extra political, extra racy, extra like
I don't know.
what's the no,
Controversial.
Controversial. There we go. Yeah. So Rush Limbaugh, here we come. Just kidding. But no. Hopefully you guys enjoy the podcast. Ben, any final comments?
Nope.
Okay, that's it from us, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
I used to wonder what it feel like. Now I know